Say goodbye to your job, MAGA Mike Johnson, the worst Speaker of the House in American history. Frankly, a Speaker of the House in name only, a Trump sycophant. And MAGA Mike Johnson, MAGA leadership in both the House and in the Senate are panicking as they see the prospects of them losing their jobs increasing by the day as midterms approach. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans are unable to cover up the Epstein files. I mean, they may be hiding 50 terabytes or so of documents, but the American people know that what's already been produced is utterly grotesque and horrific, and MAGA Mike and Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans can try to pretend that Donald Trump is vindicated, but quite the contrary. What is said about him in those files is utterly disgusting and grotesque and horrible, and it shows a pedo protection racket, in my opinion, for this Epstein class right there. Then, of course, you have Donald Trump's tariffs against the world being struck down by the United States Supreme Court on Friday. And then what does Donald Trump immediately do? He unlawfully invokes another so-called tariff power from the Trade Act of 1974, Section 122. Donald Trump imposed 10% tariffs on the entire world, and then he also revoked the exemption on de minimis tariffs, tariffing everybody who purchases things now $800 or less. Vindictive, horrible, despicable. That sums up Trump and MAGA right now. Now, MAGA Mike Johnson posted the following message yesterday. He goes, "No one can deny that President's use of tariffs has brought in billions of dollars and created immense leverage for America's trade strategy and for securing strong, reciprocal, America First trade agreements with countries that had been taking advantage of American workers for decades. Congress and the administration will determine the best path forward in the coming weeks." You might want to read the Constitution there, MAGA Mike. There's a little something called Article 1, Section 8, which talks about the power of taxation belongs to Congress. You're supposed to zealously guard that as a co-equal branch of government. MAGA Mike, not behave like the Duma in Russia for Vladimir Putin. But MAGA Mike, this is why you are going to lose your job. This is why the MAGA Republicans are going to lose their jobs in the midterms, and the voters are absolutely pissed. I mean, just take a listen to this Republican caller on C-SPAN yesterday who talks about Donald Trump's massive loss before the United States Supreme Court.
Paul in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, Republican. Paul, your reaction to the Supreme Court's decision on the president's tariff policies?
Well, I'm delighted.
Tell us why.
I think it's about time that President Trump was told that he just can't arbitrarily say that there's an emergency and I have to be the one to cure it. And I think that I'm happy to see that it was a 6-3 decision, and it shows me that there is hope for the Supreme Court in the future.
And we're hearing from small business owners like this across the country. Play this clip.
The president just ruled that, the Supreme Court just ruled that the president can no longer impose tariffs moving forward. How do you feel about this?
Well, I was bracing for the worst, and to get that, the ruling today was such a relief. I nearly in tears. I'm shocked at how relieved I am. This is big. It's very big.
That's fantastic.
And as Harry Enton explains, Donald Trump is underwater on every single issue. His worst issue is the Epstein files, but on everything, whether it's inflation, foreign policy, the economy, tariffs, -60, -20, -20, -25, -39. Here, play this clip of Harry Enton. Here, play this clip.
ABE, anything but Epstein.
Take a look at Google searches for Epstein. In fact, in the month of February, it is higher than it's ever been. Up like a rocket, up 900% versus a month ago. And the top name associated with Googling for Epstein, well, it is Donald Trump. What is the worst issue for Donald Trump of any of the major issues? Look, he's underwater on immigration, foreign policy, the economy, and tariffs. The Epstein case, though, is on another planet. Look at this. Negative 39 points. The Epstein case is not the story the Trump administration and Trump in particular and Republicans at large want in the news because it is a big political loser for.
I mean, here's the latest. A third American death linked to ICE crackdown that was uncovered by Newsweek on the morning of March 15, 2025. You had another American citizen who was murdered by Donald Trump's Gestapo. They covered it up. And now we know yet again that the Trump regime, this is what they do. They cover up more killings, more murders of Americans and migrants, just so, again, utterly despicable. San Antonio, a man was killed last year, and they just try to cover it up. And with all that going on as well, I just think that as I look to the midterms, and people talk about blue wave, blue tsunami, is it going to happen? But I think that there is something bigger that potentially can happen, a bigger opportunity for the Democratic Party to be actually fighting for people, to be fighting for workers, to be fighting for equal rights and dignity and fair wages and housing, and really stand for something, not just stand against Donald Trump and his despicable regime, which we need to do very forcefully, but to stand for something and to really give a vision. And I actually think that vision is aligned with where the people are right now. And so I want to bring on a congressional candidate who's running in California's 11th congressional district. That's going to be Pelosi's old district, Shoykat Chakrabarti. And he, to me, is one of these candidates who doesn't just represent potential way the Democrats take control of the House, because what does control mean if you don't do things with your control? Like MAGA Mike Johnson is the Speaker of the House. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't have control other than destroy things and answer to Donald Trump. So Shoykat, it's great to have you here. I want to go over your background in a bit, but I want to start by saying I think there's a bigger opportunity, and lots of people see hope in you and a number of other candidates across this country as representing that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think what people are looking for right now is, yes, in the short term, we do need people who are going to stand up and fight this authoritarian regime that is taking control of our country, and they want Democrats with real fight. But beyond that, it's about what do we do after that? We can't go back to a pre-Trump status quo because that's what got us Trump. The economy as it was before wasn't working. Working people were working longer and longer hours to afford less and less. And so people want some sort of bold, sweeping change. And I believe right now we're in our New Deal moment. We're at the point where we have to envision a new society, one that puts working people first. And it's all really coming to a head. I mean, with a combination of like the Epstein files coming out, showing how there is this cabal of wealthy elite pedophiles running the world, which is absurd, but it's true, it seems like. But at the same time, you have AI popping up and these tech oligarchs and crypto billionaires gobbling up more and more of the wealth in our society and trying to create a permanent underclass. People do not want this Mad Max dystopian future. And I think we as Democrats have to offer the alternative for how do we actually create something way better than what we had before out of the carnage that we see right now.
You saw this, right? You were, for everyone who doesn't know, you were AOC's campaign manager. You were her chief of staff through about 2019. Then you ran New Consensus. So you've been embedded in these types of campaigns, speaking to people, seeing on the front lines what it's like. And it's just so fascinating to me. And this is what Senator Sanders always says to me when he comes on the show, is he goes, Ben, the biggest issues out there are the ones that are being least discussed in the media, but most discussed by the people. Like if you go to a Fight the Oligarchy rally, if I go to a rally, you hear what the people are saying. It's just fascinating. This is where, where our network came along. I'm like, but we realize that everybody's actually